make it to the promised land. Ain't nothing like a grand slam.
Well, there's not very many things that can take the place of getting 3 hits and winning a game for a Whitey Ford or somebody like that. If you're a baseball player, that's more gratifying than anything in the world, you know, to know that you've won a game for your team and helped one of your friends win a game.
That everyday competition, unlike anything in the world. You know, I love playing under pressure. And especially when the bases got loaded, I made sure that, hey, I got to get me a good pitch to hit out of the ballpark.
Home runs were my life. I loved home runs. I didn't think there was a better situation to be in, to be able to be up there, bases loaded, and you're just waiting for the pitcher to make a mistake.
I've never, since the day I retired, had the same feeling that I did playing baseball. I have not had anything that gave me the same feeling as the competition between hitter and batter, and I probably will never experience that again.
Sunday when I woke up, a smile was on my face, thinking later on I might feel another day. Monday, Tuesday, walking around the bend. On Wednesday night we started again. Ain't nothing like a grand slam to make you feel like a real man. It's your ticket to the promised land.
Welcome to Grand Slam, a bases-loaded celebration of baseball and a 40-man who played the game better than anyone else. It is a salute in words and music to a dream game, to childhood fantasies come true.
I think the dream of playing baseball starts when you're a kid. I think that's why baseball, to me, has always had this mystical feeling. It's the game your dad teaches you how to play. And it's that thing that you pass on to your kids, whether it be boys or girls.
As an American, you know, the national pastime really was, for me, as I was coming along, baseball. You didn't need much to play baseball, so it was pretty easy to fall in love with baseball. My father loved baseball, and it was just a way of life.
I remember my sisters and my brother telling me that they would watch me in the backyard when I was probably just past infancy, and I'd be playing baseball with imaginary friends. And the imaginary friends were George and Charlie.
When I was about 5 years old, my father started rolling a ball to me from the living room into the kitchen, and I used to pick the ball up. I was too young to catch the ball on the fly, and I'd wind up and fire it at him.
Well, I used to take rags from my mother and my sister's old dresses, and they all was old, of course, but I used to steal them out of the house and used to ball up old rags and pretend like it was a baseball.
I was about 5 years old. First time I ever picked up a bat and swung it, hit the baseball, and then after that it was broomsticks from there on.
A broomstick with a rock or anything, just throw it up and hit it, and I was just a nut about swinging a bat.
I probably had a ball and bat in my hand ever since I was big enough to hold one.
I can't remember when I didn't have a ball in my hands. I'd throw it against the side of the house, and I'd broken windows and cracked garage doors, but for as long as I can remember, since I got a glove, I've played catch.
It was just something that we liked to do. If it was playing in the backyard with wiffle balls or tennis balls or whatever, we would always play baseball.
I lived a block and a half from the playgrounds, and I played morning, noon, and night. I was there in the morning before the janitor got there so I could pick up the ball and bat, go out and wait for the kids to play.
From Dominican, that's the only sport that we really play everywhere, you know, in the street and the yard, everywhere that we have a empty lot. The kids play baseball.
Major League Baseball was a big part of my dreams as a young kid, and through the Cincinnati Reds and what I saw on TV and what I knew was going on down in Cincinnati.
Almost every American kid has the same dream. That's wanting to play in the big leagues.
Probably the first word I ever learned as a child was ball, and that's the only dream I've ever had.
I never thought of not being a ball player, which is probably a little bit odd. I never thought of anything about not making it to the big leagues.
That's all I ever lived. You know, playing baseball, maybe one day being a Major League Baseball player.
I never doubted. I was in the second grade, and Miss Rosser asked me what we want to be when we grow up, and one guy said insurance, one lawyer, one, and I said Major League Baseball player, and everybody laughed.
We used to read about $5,000 contracts for these guys. We said, wow, that's great money. We're going to play professional sports. They'd slap you in the head and say, shut up. Now, what are you really going to do?
That's one thing that I wanted to do, was be a big leaguer and have my own baseball card.
I used to daydream like I guess all kids do. And I would picture myself being at Ebbets Field, and it was the bottom of the ninth, and we was playing the Yankees in a World Series, and I'd come up with the bases loaded and hit one out. So I used to imagine all those things as a kid.
Some of the kids grow up and still play kids' games, but not many of them as well as Roger Clemens of the Boston Red Sox and Nolan Ryan of the Houston Astros, two of baseball's great pitchers. You're not a little kid anymore, but is there still some little kid in you?
I think there's a little kid in everyone that continues to play, and the competing part of it, I think, is the fun part of it.
Roger, but before the dream came true for you, did you have heroes?
I had quite a few heroes, and strange enough, one of them sitting right next to me is Nolan Ryan. I looked up to him quite a bit. I looked up to Tom Seaver.
The first time you saw Nolan pitch, how old were you?
I was 8 years old at the time, and I know he might hate me for saying that, but it's something that I watched. Every time he was on Sports Illustrated cover or inside the magazine, I would take his full-color picture, put it up next to some of my younger pictures that I had, and I keep thinking I'm getting closer and closer to that fact. And as I got older into my teens, I looked for that leg drive and that explosion that the power pitchers had, because it's something that people said that you don't throw hard enough yet, and it's something I knew I needed to get to the big leagues. So I worked very hard at that, and I copied a great man.
Who was your hero?
Well, I think mine changed as I went through stages in my life. When I was Little League age, it was Henry Aaron, Stan Musial. And then when I started pitching and became a fastball pitcher, then I became a Sandy Koufax fan.
Everybody has idols. Even the idols have idols.
Just any baseball hero, no matter what he did. He could be in the All-Star game, fix his cup. We say, yeah, did you see him do that? Did you see him? Anything, you know, we like to emulate him. So I know what professional athletes mean to young people.
Man, when I was growing up, and I used to admire all these players, you know, Jackie Robinson, Roy Campanella, Duke Snyder, Sam Magley. They used to call it the barber. And, you know, that was amazing, you know, the way I used to feel for those players.
I followed Stan Musial growing up as a kid. Musial was a great player at that particular time for the Cardinals.
Stan the Man Musial facing Tom Brewer of the Red Sox. Musial connects. We follow the ball in flight. Home run for the great St. Louis Star. A record 5th circuit smash in All-Star play.
That's where the confidence in me came from, because I would listen to Stan. I'll never forget this All-Star game. My first All-Star game in Milwaukee County Stadium. We tied the score up, went into extra innings, and I never forget Stan Musial said, well, they don't pay me to play extra innings. Walked to the plate in the 13th inning and hit a home run, and that was the game.
Stan Musial at bat. And hitting out into the right field bleachers. A home run. A veteran of 12 All-Star Classics, Stan the Man from St. Louis, wins the game for the Nationals, 6-5.
I followed the Pittsburgh Pirates very closely when I was young. I lived near there, and I used to root for Paul Wainer, the Pirates. He's a good hitter. He got a lot of hits. And I also rooted for Carl Hubble.
First inning, 2 on base. Ruth faces Hubble. Ball 1. Strike, says the umpire. What, says the Bambino? But Hubble bears down. You're out, Mr. Ruth. Well, I'll be. And up comes Lou Gehrig. 3 strikes and out. Come on, Hubble. Ruth and Gehrig gone. Let's get Jimmy Fox. And there he goes. 3 strikeouts in a row. The greatest pitching triumph of all time.
Carl Hubbard was a pitcher and a great pitcher, so I kind of followed these 2 outstanding ball players when I was young.
When I was a young kid growing up in Dayton, Ohio, the Cincinnati Reds were down the road about an hour. Frank Robinson was one of my early boyhood idols. I remember Frank Robinson was the first guy to wear the high stirrups on his socks.
Frank Robinson became the first Red Leg player in 42 years to capture the National League slugging championship. Robinson's .595 percentage was the best in all of baseball.
Crosley Field was one of the last old-time natural ballparks that hadn't been messed with. My father took me down occasionally, but Crosley Field in Cincinnati is where I learned about Major League Baseball. But I saw Mickey Mantle the first time play on one of those real small, I guess about like this. And I saw him, and he was from Oklahoma, and he was a switch hitter, and he was going to be the next Babe Ruth.
It's Mickey Mantle giving Joe Black's delivery the home run treatment.
And from then on, he was my idol, and I was so proud he was from Oklahoma.
Not yet 21 years old, this slugger from the oil fields of Oklahoma is wrapping up the ball game for the Yankees.
Well, I think everybody followed the Mick as a kid, and during my years, I was born in '54, and he was just about, starting out then, and his heyday was when I was just right at that age where I was gawking at baseball.
Kids that used to keep scrapbooks of me, whenever they get 17, 18, 19 years old now, they send them to me, and I must have a whole room full of scrapbooks, 75 or 80 scrapbooks, and I wake up early in the mornings, and I go out and I read them, and it's almost like reading about somebody else.
Mickey Mantle, young sensation of Casey Stengel's World Championship defenders, changes the complexion of things beautiful for the books with, yes, one of those 4 baggers. No game is complete without them.
Mickey was my childhood. I mean, I talk like him. I walk like him. I had bad knees when I was 8. I would talk like when my bar mitzvah was Mickey. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. I mean, it was Mickey. I had a 7 on my robes.
I was in junior high school watching or listening on radio to the World Series of 1941. It's the Yankees and the Dodgers, and they had young players on that team by the name of Pee Wee Reese and Pete Reeser.
Familiar faces include Joe Bosmick, Pee Wee Reese, and Banlingo Mungo.
And these guys were really names that stuck with me. That's when I became a Brooklyn Dodger fan, and little did I know that someday I would be a Brooklyn Dodger and playing on the same team with Pee Wee.
Witness now the performance of Duke Snider. He thrives on Yankee pitching, connecting for 2 circuit clouts in the 6th game and 4 in the series. His all-around stick work brings him into the World Series class of Babe Ruth and Lou Gehrig.
When I first came up, the guy that I stopped and watched, when we played the Yankees in spring training and Joe DiMaggio stepped into the batting cage, we all stopped and watched.
Back in 1936, Joe played his first game of ball as a Yankee. With the late Lou Gehrig at left, he became a Yankee immortal. Not only a tremendous center fielder, he was one of baseball's greatest hitters. In 1941, he set a major league record by hitting safely in 56 consecutive games.
Stan Musial was the same way. Ted Williams was the same way. They were outstanding hitters and great guys to go along with it. They would talk to you and give you all the information that you tried to get out of them about hitting, and they tried to help you.
Well, I got to meet Ted Williams, He was still with the Boston Red Sox at the time. And I can remember standing around the batting cage during batting practice in the spring training games and just talking to him for hours, really.
Sixth inning, Ted Williams facing Warren Spahn of the Milwaukee Braves. The American League trails by 5 runs. Williams sends a towering drive into the right center bullpen. 4th homer and all-star play for the Red Sox slugger.
And I just learned a lot, I think, from just talking to Ted Williams and just observing and watching him.
I think that any good athlete sees somebody who excels. The best ones can come closer to emulating them after watching them and say, that looks good. And generally, when they are that good, they look good. My idol as a kid, and the guy that I remember as a 10, 11, 12-year-old kid, was Bill Terry. He was an outstanding hitter during 31, 32. His batting was just as good as anybody at that time. And I liked his model bat.
I played with the guy that was probably the most amazing of them all, Willie Mays. You know, he did something amazing every day, so it became just a routine for us.
Willie Mays wallops one 400 feet halfway up the left center field bleachers. A pinch hit homer for the New York Giants star.
He was a man with great strength, great quickness, and great eye-hand coordination. He also had a street sense, if you will, about what was going on in the field.
Boom! Out towards straight center. Willie Mays catches it. 450 feet. Say, hey, Willie, was that a catch?
I look at a guy like a Willie Mays, and he probably, to me, maybe the most blessed athlete that maybe played any sport. I mean, he could have done anything. He could have played football. He could have played bat. He could have done anything.
Jackie Robinson was my hero. He was the man that inspired me to be where I am today. You know, I mean, not only as a baseball player, but as a human being.
And when Jackie Robinson blasts the first home run of the series, well, who can deny the wind is blowing favorably across Flatbush Avenue?
I know what got me interested in wanting to be a major leaguer, and that was when Jackie Robinson came along and came to the major leagues, and we started reading about Jackie.
In addition to hitting, he leads the league in runs batted in. He's far ahead of anyone in the majors at the speed merchant's business of stealing bases.
We always used to try and do the same things that Jackie did, you know, try and steal bases and try and steal home and just try and play the way that Jackie Robinson played.
As good a player as Jackie Robinson was, he felt like he needed to do more in order to make people understand that no matter what kind of obstacles was in your way, that you can go around them, jump over them, but somehow you always kept things in perspective and you could go out and get the job done.
If you're going to ask me who's the greatest baseball player ever to play the game of baseball, I'm going to tell you Babe Ruth.
Perhaps the best loved of all in American sport, Babe Ruth. The happy-go-lucky home run-hitting Bambino had a lot of nicknames and millions of friends who thrilled to his mincing run around the bases. A Super Bowl player with the magic touch of a showman.
Every baseball player should thank God for Babe Ruth. Babe Ruth, because of his presence in different towns, saved franchise after franchise because of the attendance for that weekend he was in town. And because of him saving franchises, it enabled baseball to continue. If he walked in that room right there, you wouldn't need these lights here. I mean, just everything would shine. I mean, that's the type of guy he was. I wish I could have seen Babe Ruth play. And I feel that's the only way I feel cheated in my baseball career, that I didn't get to see Babe Ruth play.
September 30th. Thousands come hoping to see Ruth hit the 60th home run that will break his record. Zachary gets ready. Well, Babe has done it. 60 home runs in one season. One of the greatest records in baseball.
Nolan, is there a pitcher you wish you had seen or a batter you wish you had faced?
Well, I would have liked to seen Walter Johnson because once I broke his record or got close to it, there was a lot of comparisons, and I would have liked that opportunity. I'd like to seen Bob Feller throw because people that
you're compared with, you know, I would like to have that opportunity. And there's a lot of great hitters that I would like to face.
Who would you like to face, Roger, out of the past? Would you like to pitch to Babe Ruth?
Oh, sure. I'd have liked to see Babe Ruth when he was a pitcher for the Red Sox. Smokey Joe Wood, who pitched for the Red Sox, and some of the history there that I've been learning about the train, too. And but I think the biggest thing for me was getting and wanting to face Reggie Jackson, and I had the opportunity to do that.
I'm glad he brought up Reggie Jackson, because up to then I thought he was a lot older than he looks, talking about Joe Woods and things like that. The dream begins to turn to reality when they sign their first major league contract.
You know, you not only think about, when you're a youngster, getting to the major leagues, but I dreamed about signing with the big league team. I had about 7 or 8 teams that wanted me to sign with them when I graduated from high school.
Most major leaguers will say they were drafted out of high school. They knew in Little League they were going to be major leaguers. They were followed by scouts.
I never knew what would happen when you were in Bingor, Oklahoma, and you worry about scouts finding you. I guess I hoped more than anything.
I went into the Negro American League, and I guess I developed my skills there that showed the scouts and the National and American League people that I could play professional baseball.
I survived my college baseball career, and of course the Phillies came and scouted me and drafted me in the 2nd round in 1971, and it's been a Cinderella story.
When the scout came to sign me, Cy Slapnecker back there, I was on a Caterpillar crawler pulling a combine through the wheat fields, and then that was the year I signed with Cleveland, and the following year I wound up playing for the Indians.
We had a senior prom, in Santa Barbara, and I left the prom at 11 o'clock. I signed my contract at 12:05 that morning. That made me legal, and I left that morning at 7 to play ball.
The Orioles were, they came to Baltimore in 1954. I signed in 1955. So I knew that, and one of the reasons I signed with them was because Paul Richards said, look, son, if you have any ability at all, you're going to get a chance to play. And no matter what happens, you're going to play. And if you show us you can do it, then you're going to be our 3rd baseman.
What I was going to do, I was going to give it my best 5 years. If I didn't make it to the major leagues in 5 years, I was going to retire and go back to Southern California and find something to do. And without a college education, boy, am I glad I made it.
That first baseball card, that big yellow uniform I had in San Diego, they said it looked like a fly in a jar of mustard. But still, I was there, professional.
I had to grow up overnight when I was 17 years old and signed to play professional baseball. And I found out there wasn't any room for kids. I had to be an adult from the very beginning.
How can a minor in Oklahoma prepare somebody to go to New York City, you know? I mean, that just had to come through several years, you know. When I first came to New York, probably yourself too, I don't know, but everybody always said I was aloof. I didn't even know what that meant, you know, but I knew it wasn't good.
I was only 19 years old at that particular time, and to have guys like Jackie Robinson and Pee Wee Reese and Campanella and Hodges and Snyder and a thing like that, I mean, just kind of take you under their arm, why it was a great feeling.
And it was such a big thrill to be there. The first game that Jackie Robinson played was the first game that I ever played in, and the first major league game I ever saw.
In 1953, I joined the Cubs, and we was playing the Brooklyn Dodgers, and I came out on the field, and Jackie came out early, and he saw me, and right today I could see his face running all the way over to 3rd base and saying, congratulations, I knew you could make it, and he gave me some advice. He told me just listen. And for about 5 years, that's all I did. I didn't talk. I just played.
The feeling was the little kid in Tampa, Florida, has finally grown up and he's made it to the big leagues. That was really going through my mind right there. Is that you're facing guys that you watched on TV and you dreamed about being in the big leagues, and here it comes reality. It's mind-boggling. It really is.
Where did you sign, Roger? Where were you?
Houston, Texas. We just got back from Omaha where the national championship was decided, and we won in 1983, won the national championship, and came back home and rested for about a week, and the scouts from the Red Sox came into Houston. Myself, my mother, my brother was there with Danny Doyle, the Red Sox scout, in the living room, and the juices were flowing for me. I was really excited and anticipating the situation and what was going to come about, and kept my emotions kind of quiet, not letting anybody see him. And finally, we signed the contract. He left. We got about 15 minutes down the road, and I busted out the front door and just let out a big yelp, and I was just really excited that I was going to get the opportunity to play professional baseball.
How old were you when you signed, Nolan?
I was 18.
18 years old. How'd you celebrate?
Well, you know, when I signed, it was strange. I was prepared that night to tell them that I wasn't going to sign, that I was going to go on to college, and I'd made my mind up to do that. And so when I did sign that night, it was just the opposite of what I had planned on doing, so I think I was a little shocked by it all.
So college lost a pitcher and lost a basketball player.
Well, lost a pitcher.
Pitching is really an art, and it really does require a lot of intelligence.
I'm pretty much the type of personality that I like to have a hands-on approach. I like to run things and to be the social director, if you would. And I think pitching provided me the opportunity to be in baseball, something that I'd loved all along, but to pretty much have a hands-on deal where I ran the show.
Pitching is definitely an art. You don't find a guy that is not good at what he's doing. You don't find a guy who's so a good pitcher. And I think it is an art that you have to work very, very hard to develop.
I wanted to be consistent. I wanted to be a good pitcher over a long period of time, and that's because those are really the things that I appreciated from the individuals that I looked up to when I was young.
I saw right away that I wasn't going to throw as hard as Wallace Arnold and Gary Goodwin, and those are some of the kids I grew up with who threw. I mean, could throw it right through the side of the house. I wasn't gifted with that, but I had an aptitude for the curveball, and the delivery that I had was so simple that I could always throw strikes.
And I think not being a phenomenal athlete, not being the strong kid on the block when I was young was very beneficial to me by the time I got to the big leagues, because I really had to begin to learn to pitch when I was 14, 15 years old. I mean, I could not throw the ball by people.
I could throw the ball by a lot of hitters, not all of them. And I also had a good curveball since I was 8 years old. And a lot of the hitters all knew I had a good curve, but the general public always knew me for just a fastball pitcher.
How do you think Bob Feller and his associates are going to do there?
Oh, he's got to be big, he's got to be big. Of course, we're in that tough league, you know, you wouldn't understand about that.
What's tough about your league?
That's where the boys throw overhand.
I didn't know, I never knew.
Hitting a 95-mile-an-hour fastball is hard to hit if it's in a good location. If you throw it right over the middle of the plate, they might miss the first one. The next two, they're going to kill. They might not get a base hit, but they're going to make contact. So the most important thing is not just the 95-mile-an-hour fastball, but the location of the 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
When you throw a baseball, there's only three things that can happen to it: velocity, movement, and location. And if you're 3 for 3, you're almost unbeatable. If you're 2 for 3, you're in great shape. If you're 1 for 3, you're going to get killed.
Everything has to be so precision. I've tried to teach some of the young pitchers and make them realize that if I want to take a strike and I want to go up and in, up and away, down and in, down and away, and right down the middle, that's 5 different release points that I have to use. If I want to go with a breaking pitch on both sides of the plate, that's 7. If I want to go with a change on both sides, that's 9. And if I want to go with a slider both ways, that's 11. People don't realize what a precision machine that a pitcher has to be to stay in constant good sync throughout the course of a year.
Pitching has always been a great challenge to me, physically and mentally. I think there's a division of the two, and understanding it, and then bringing them together in the middle of competition. There's a physical preparation that you always go through to get ready for your pitching, and then there's the mental preparation that you always go through, looking at box scores, seeing who's driving in runs, who's hot, who's cold, etc., who gives you trouble. What happened the last time you faced this team?
I think that I have a plan, and I go out there to plug my plan into a ball game. And a part of that plan is preparation. I want to know everything I can about every hitter I'm going to face.
And hitters don't really change that much as far as being an inside hitter or a high ball hitter or a low ball hitter. They're pretty much that way when they get to the major leagues, and they remain that way until it's finished.
There are some guys you can throw the same pitch over and over and over, and they'll hit it in the same place. Other hitters adjust. And what that requires is for me to take the information that I have and try to anticipate when he's going to adjust.
Now, there are certain ways to get guys out. You don't pitch them that way. You wait until there's an instance where he could hurt you, and then you go to that. If a guy is a high fastball hitter and he can't hit the ball low and away, I don't start him out by throwing him low and away. I might start off throwing him up and in because he's a high ball hitter, and then when I want to strike him out, then I go to that spot. But if you start pitching the guy the way you want to get him out, sooner or later he's going to hurt you.
I think I developed one of my theories of pitching that I had was that take somebody in that lineup over there. And it goes back, was a Casey Stengel theory that he had about Ted Williams. And I think I adopted that. Take somebody in that lineup over there who's the most difficult individual for you to get out. And eliminate him in the last 3 innings. Don't let that individual beat you in the last 3 innings. And I kind of expanded that. I would say, okay, don't let Willie McCovey beat you in the last 3 innings. But also don't let Willie McCovey hit a 3-run home run off you, too. Even if you have to walk him. You know, if I get somebody else where your chances, your odds of getting out of an inning are greater.
You try and stay away from getting hurt by those big guys and keeping the little guys off base when those big guys are coming up because they're getting paid to drive in all those runs.
You're still fairly new at the game, Roger. When you hear these other pitchers talk, do you learn something from them?
Sure. When I'm around any type of veteran pitcher that I've watched before or has been there before, World Series or playoffs or anything like that, just has the years in, I'm all ears. Anything I can pick up that might help me down the road, I'm going to be listening to those things. And I also develop things and patterns that I like to pitch by and rules that I like to go by. And situations like the 20 strikeout game that I had against the Seattle Mariners. In any type of game, that type of game with 20 Ks or a no-hit game, any game like that, I found out that you're going to have 3 confrontations, major confrontations, where they have a chance to score runs off you. If you get out all 3, of course, you should win.
Here's the right-hander's windup. Here's the pitch. Strike 3! Roger Clemens has broken the Major League record. 4 strikeouts in 1 game. He has struck out 20. And Roger...
How can you have 19 strikeouts or 20 strikeouts 1 game and then get hit hard in another game? What's the difference between
I think that's the physical aspect that comes in. You know, you see it in golfers, you see it in tennis players. Each game is different. Physically, you're different. You know, as a pitcher, you strive for consistency, but from game to game, you don't know if you're going to have the same velocity or you're going to have the command of your breaking ball, your changeup, and the mounds are different. You know, your routine different from flying. There's so many factors involved that there's no way that you can program, say somebody's going to be a certain way, and that's what we all strive for, is consistency.
He got it! Nolan Ryan! No-hitter number 5.
It takes an artist, really, to appreciate another artist.
The days that I enjoyed were the days that I could come to the ballpark and I wasn't working, and I had a free seat and a front row seat, and I could watch those individuals work. And I loved to watch Gibson pitch. He was a great competitor. I mean, every time, his consistency, everything. I mean, he was the same in the first inning. He was the same in the 5th inning, and even more so in the 9th inning. And then if you saw him 2 weeks later, he's exactly the same.
You have to be really alert to face a pitcher like Bob Gibson because he was challenging. He was very quick on the mound. He got the ball. He knew what he wanted to do, and he was a strong competitor.
See, Bob never spoke to the opposing players. He didn't want to become friendly with any of the players.
He said that he didn't really, I don't like any of you, and I don't want to get to know you, because then I might like you, and I don't want to like you.
I wouldn't spend much time talking to them because I know that when players get a little familiar with you and they get a little comfortable, then they have that much more success with you. And so I just would stay away from them, and I guess in my own way, it was a way of intimidating.
When we were playing, pitchers had a 6th pitch, or what you might call a 5th pitch, which was a brushback pitch, and he was an artist at it. I mean, he could throw that close to you. And if you couldn't get out of the way or if it came in a little too tight,
he'd knock you down. It happened to me when I was playing. There's a whole story. I met him in a store, and he didn't I went to introduce myself. 2 weeks into the big leagues. I'm Dave Winfield, San Diego Padres. He looked behind from a newspaper. He was in a store reading. He just grunted, and I backed off. And I was upset, you know. And then we played them later on in that series, and I really wanted to get him. First time he struck me out. Next time I hit a home run. I trotted around the bases, and we said a couple words exchanged. Next time I came to bat, right at the coconut, boy. But he couldn't hit me. I'm still too quick for that.
Well, when a guy is reaching out over the plate and hitting your best pitch, then you have nowhere to go. So you have to keep him honest. You keep that ball inside, you give him something else to think about. And I'm going to get him out of the way. And if he gets out there and starts hitting that ball on the outside part of the plate, then I'm going to have to do something to keep him away from reaching out there. And the only thing you can do is pitch him inside. If it happens to hit him, then that's his fault. He's supposed to look out for that. Look out.
Probably every pitcher tried to intimidate certain hitters. I think they have learned over the years certain guys you can intimidate and certain guys you can't.
It's not very intimidating to a pitcher. If you're the pitcher and I'm like this and you throw a high and inside fastball and I go, yeah! That's not very intimidating to the pitcher. In other words, I'm telling the pitcher that I don't like that ball up in here, right? That's what I'm telling him now. If that ball's thrown up in here and I go like this, boom, just move my neck and let it go under my neck, you know, or sort of spit on it or something. If you throw it up in here, that's a little intimidating. And the pitcher's thinking, geez, man, I didn't scare him with that pitch high and inside. What am I going to do now?
If Mike Smith or anybody else would spit on the ball when I threw it by him, I'd probably throw the next one right up under his chin. I mean, that's just the way I was, and if they wanted to fight, we probably would have been rolling in the dirt out there.
That's what you didn't want to do. You didn't want to upset one of those pitchers where he didn't really like you. I mean, I just sort of didn't like him, or I mean, it wasn't anything like that. I just didn't want him mad at me. I played the game the way it was supposed to be played. I felt if they went after me, it was for something reason. Somebody else, you know, was mad at me for stealing a girlfriend or something like that. It couldn't have been for doing anything I did at the park.
Well, I don't think I got thrown at as much because I don't think they really knew what I might do, whether I might come out there or not. So I never did reveal what I would do, as opposed to Mays. You know, they knew they could knock Mays down, and all he was going to do is just jump right up and get back in the batter's box.
I didn't try and intimidate anybody, and I didn't let anybody intimidate me. That I never, if a guy stuck one right in my ribs, I never flinched. I just took it and didn't even act like he hit me.
And I always had a motto that if anyone got hit or anybody went down, why, 2 of the opposition would go down. And if 2 of mine went down, that meant 4 of theirs would go down. So it really didn't take a Rhodes Scholar to figure out where it could lead to and when do you want to stop it. That's all.
Drysdale was a lot meaner than I was out there on the mound. He would actually throw the ball at guys. I never threw the ball at anybody. You don't believe that.
Well, these guys were tough because they would say, hey, you know, either I'm going to have the inside part of the plate or the outside, but I'm the man that got the ball. You guess where I'm going to throw it at. And I didn't mind it. That didn't bother me. But both those guys were really tough, but Drysdale was really, really mean.
I never hit anybody in the head. I hit a lot of people, but never anybody in the head. But you would move them off of the plate. But they would guess with me a lot. Now, I'd pitch in and I'd pitch out. And if they're looking out and I'm thinking in, you're hit.
He was intimidating himself, just being out there on the mound.
Here you talk about a guy 6'6" or 6'7", very tall and lean and big, and threw sidearm, you know, and when he released the ball, looked like he was standing right on top of you, you know. Here it is, you know, right in your face, you know. So yeah, that was intimidating enough, you know, just to see him out there. And yet he threw the ball very hard, 93, 94 miles an hour, and everything down here on your knees, right here. And every now and then when he wanted to come up, he came up with a purpose, you know, to let you know that to get back off the plate.
We just, we tried to win, and you try and win at all costs.
We've had more than our share of ups and downs from the beginning. But sweet lady love has finally come around, and now we're winning.
I'm often asked, is pitching fun? Winning was fun. Just the act of winning. I mean, the joy, once the game is over and you win, that's fun. There's elation and joy and happiness and laughing and giggling and whatever when you win, because that's a moment of joy. I mean, when I won my 300th game, that's probably as happy as I've ever been in the big leagues. But the appreciation of winning and pitching well is much deeper and much more self-satisfying than purely just winning.
And I think that my way of doing things in winning 14, 15, and 16 ball games every year, I think I needed 300 wins for the stamp of a good housekeeping stamp of approval on a career. I think if I'd won 299, I would have been just another guy who just made a bunch of starts and won a few ball games. But I think 300 was the win that all of a sudden, wait a minute, he did that? And I think that was very important to me. The dreams and the being a ball player were important at the beginning, but I have no illusions of being the most glamorous player that ever played or the best liked or the most spectacular. But hopefully, at the end, when you look back, as I'm starting to do now, darn, I turned out a pretty good product for a number of years, and that's all I've ever wanted.
Roger, you're still a young man at this game. Can you imagine 300 victories, what that takes?
I can't even imagine 300 right now. All I can do is imagine about it, and that's what I'm trying to do right now, set up my foundation for that and use my body right and try and get that longevity like some of these other players that are playing well into their late 30s of their career.
Nolan may even be approaching his late 30s very soon. You've been around all this time. You saw Gibson and Drysdale talk. Did you ever try to educate a batter?
Well, that's a part of the game is pitching in, and I think you have to establish the fact that you will pitch in, and I think that the majority pitchers probably pitch away, but if you don't pitch in, then it's hitters are going to adjust.
I've never heard anyone say an unkind word about you. Is that because your control was so good that you never got above the shoulder?
I think a lot of times they never knew if I was throwing in or I was wild or what it was. They were just, I think my control probably helped me early in my career.
A lot of the game, the pitchers can take into their own hands, but sometimes they need a lot of help from other people's hands. That is poetry with a glove, pure ballet. And the man wearing the glove, Ozzie Smith of the St. Louis Cardinals, the Wizard of Oz. Now, the glove he was wearing on the field is not the same as the glove he's wearing there. That one's an old one. This is an older one. We are in a baseball museum, perhaps the greatest in the world outside of Cooperstown, or maybe even including Cooperstown. This is the home of Barry Halper, who owns a small piece of the New York Yankees and a large piece of baseball history. This is Barry's memorabilia, and we're surrounded here by defensive memorabilia. A golden glove that belonged to Maury Wills, and how do you like that? Cy Young's glove.
I tell you, Dick, here's a glove that is more fitted for boxing than it is baseball, and for a guy to even put this on his hand and be able to say that this is a baseball glove, I think is quite an achievement. And he won 511 games with this.
Must have been terrific on defense.
Oh, great.
I'll tell you, I bet that Ozzie Smith could perform magic even with that glove, because when he does it, when the right people do it, defense is magic.
Defense is always something that's like second. I mean, no matter what sport you participate in, everybody, I mean, they think about offense, offense, and offense, and no one really pays too much attention to defense.
I love to be in the field when the base is loaded and the ball is going to be hit to someone. I want the ball to be hit to me because I want to catch it. I want to make the last out.
Catching made the game satisfying because I felt like there was 4 ways to enjoy the game. If you could go out and you could call a good ball game, you could throw runners out, you could block home plate, and you get base hits. So I had a better chance of enjoying a day at the ballpark than most of the other guys.
When I made a crucial play, that felt better than hitting a home run at times, I'll tell you.
I love to field ground balls. I mean, I like to go out and take ground balls. That's what a lot of people came to the ballpark to see, is Brooks Robinson make a spectacular play. I think the thing that separates the average infielders from the great infielders is a sense of timing, and that sense of timing is a God-given ability more so than saying, okay, you've got to do this, you practice, you can do it. I mean, there's a lot of things you can do to improve yourself as far as being a good fielder, but I think that little instinct that makes guys like Clete Boyer, Craig Nettles, or Mike Smith, they have that little instinct to be underway before the other guy, and really the criteria of being a great fielder is, well, how many balls do you get to, or do you get the great jump and things of that nature.
Brooks Robinson, oh geez, as a third baseman, he's the model player at my position. He's the player that'll keep me from ever being mentioned as the all-time great third baseman. Brooks Robinson is, without question.
I think that Mike Smith is probably the greatest all-around third baseman in the history of the game. I think that he will go down with that recognition. George Brett is certainly going to be a Hall of Famer. He is a great offensive player. He's much better defensively than he thinks he is. I do think that it's a fine line, and I honestly believe if you saw Clete Boyer, if you saw Craig Nettles, if you saw Mike Smith play 162 games day in and day out, you would say, well, you know, no one could be any better. When people think of Brooks Robinson, they think of the glove, they think of defense. I surprise myself sometimes, there's no doubt about it.
Brooks was amazing. Did he surprise you too?
Well, you know, I was saying, Dick, that I didn't have the opportunity of seeing him play very much. I just had the luxury of looking at old films and so forth. And, you know, looking at Brooks Robinson, I think that it reminds me a lot of me, so much instinct. People ask me in many cases how I did a certain thing, and I really can't tell them. Honestly, I can't tell them. I just did it. It was one of those things one of the abilities that I was born with, and I just go out there and let it happen.
When you were a kid, though, growing up in Mobile, there were a lot of great hitters who came from there. But was there a great fielder you modeled yourself after? Not really. It was one of those things that I think that I worked on when I was young, not really knowing where it was going to take me. I did things like I used to lay down on the floor in the house or on the bed and throw the ball up and close my eyes before the ball came down and just get the feel of the ball hitting my glove. I used to stand outside against the steps and try and hit a certain spot on the steps to make the ball take a hop. I'd get close to a wall and throw it and try and be as quick as I possibly could using my backhand and my forehand. And I was really one of those kids that played a lot by myself, and lo and behold, the things that I worked on, I think, helped me develop as a major league player. It's sort of like the baseball became your friend. A lot of kids sort of regard it as the enemy. They back away from it.
It was my friend. It definitely was my friend. I had 4 brothers, but they were never really into sports as I was. I really went out a lot of times and trying to do the things that kids do. I take the ball and I throw it over a house with a slanted roof, and I try and run to the other side and catch it. You know, it was things like that that I did, and of course I would never catch it, but I'd come close. And,
Henry Aaron says he used to catch it.
Well, he was probably faster than I was.
Or maybe he had a bigger roof.
Bigger roof or something, but it was things like that I did as a kid that I think that really helped me develop as a Major League Baseball player.
He developed into the best at fielding, and not a bad hitter either.
I've had to work on that.
Everybody worked at hitting.
The only lesson I got as a hitter was I picked up a book with some quotes in it by Ted Williams. And I knew from just reading the Ted Williams quotes that this is the guy I would kind of like to pattern myself after as a hitter. And I'd like to be able to talk to him about hitting.
Hitting a baseball is the hardest single thing to do in sports. I said that a long time ago, and there was a lot of doubt for a while, but nobody doubts that. Nobody doubts that. It's the hardest single thing to do in sports. And if it is, it takes more hours. It takes certainly a lot of gifted ability. It takes opportunity to play and tons and tons and tons of practice.
When I was 19 months old, my father took me out in the backyard in Puerto Rico and was throwing me wiffle balls in the backyard, and they were taking Polaroid snapshots of my swing and everything, and Tony Kubek and Joe Garagiola had it on the Game of the Week and asked Ted Williams who that swing was, and he didn't know, and he said, whoever it is, he's got a perfect swing, and it was, as a matter of fact, it was my Polaroid of 19 months old swinging a bat, and that's really when I began to love the game.
There is some people gifted with that natural ability to get the bat on the ball. But if they don't get the bat on the ball with the right technique, the right style, they still are not near as effective because they wouldn't have power. In other words, if you don't get hips ahead of hands, you're never going to be able to drive the ball with the authority you ought to drive it. But you get the happy combination of a guy that has God-gifted ability to get a bat on the ball, and he gets hips ahead of hands, and he's got it all going. A lot of things happen. You got to hit it.
And I remember listening to Ted Williams and Nellie Fox talk in Fonseca about hitting. And they were trying to tell Nellie Fox how he would be a better hitter if he stood up in the box instead of deep in the box. And, I mean, they talked about things that I didn't even know about. I mean, Ted Williams is talking about the slider breaking 59.5 feet from when it leaves the pitcher's hand and things like that. And I said, boy, if hitting's going to be this tough, I don't know if I'm ever going to be able to do it or not.
The one-on-one competition or head-to-head competition, me and the pitcher. That's, I think, what I enjoy the most. It's such a challenge, I think, every at-bat, 4 or 5 at-bats a day, to go up there and say, okay, I got to get at least 1 hit, and hopefully I'll get 4.
I really go to the home plate with an attitude that I can be better than you, I will be better than you, and I will beat you. You kind of put it in your mind. It's the way you walk to home plate, the way you stride from the dugout, the way you stalk the pitcher, all those things.
I call it inner conceit. It's knowing in your own mind that you're better than that pitcher in a situation, and you like to be up there one-on-one.
And I was so relaxed when I was up at home plate. And it seems like nothing in the world fazed me. I wasn't afraid who was out on the mound, how hard he was throwing, what he was throwing.
It takes a lot of intestinal fortitude to stare that ball right in the eye and hope it breaks over the plate. No, that hit it after it does. You know, even in the big leagues, you see the hitter give a little bit when one's coming at his head because that good curveball is a little intimidating. So the great ones like Hank Aaron, for example, probably never even budge in the batter's box.
What happened is that when you up to the plate, you got these blinds on, you know, really. You see nothing, you hear nothing. You know, you could have 45,000 people in the stand. They can be screaming and hollering and doing whatever they want to do. And you just looking directly at that pitcher. You got nothing on but just looking right in his eyes, and you just staring right at him. And here he is right here, you know. And before he let that ball go, you know exactly what's coming.
When the ball was released from the pitcher's hand, I saw the ball all the way, never took my eyes off the ball. And that's one of the reasons why I think I was successful, because I didn't have to think or worry about if it's a breaking ball or fastball. Once the pitcher released that pitch, and I saw what his hand did when he released that pitch, I knew what type of pitch it was.
If a pitcher kind of reaches up real high, it's not going to be a fastball. He's trying to get on top of the ball so he can create some overspin so he can throw a breaking ball. If he gets down in here, he's probably throwing real hard, getting low, and it's probably going to be a fastball. Who would want to throw a curveball from down in here? You got to get up on top of that curve. So they do some strange things to give away their pitches.
My whole philosophy on hitting was seeing a rotation on the ball, knowing what the guy was throwing. You know, a screwball rotates different than a slider rotates different than a curve. A knuckleball rotates different than a fastball.
Believe it or not, I guessed about 95% of the time. Not only guessed, I also look for the pitches in certain areas. I either look for a pitch inside, outside, up, down. You know, if I don't get my pitch, I was disciplined enough to wait second time to get my pitch in order to hit it.
I do work the count to 2 strikes, and that probably upsets a lot of pitchers, but foul off a couple tough pitches. But that's really basically my style.
You learn their pitches, and you learn what they throw and when they throw it, and it's just an individual battle every night you face them.
It's a great feeling to know that you hit the ball on the fat part of the bat.
It's a sensational feeling, you know, when you hit a ball hard.
When you hit a ball solid or hit a ball hard, you really can't tell. You just see the reaction of the players or your teammates or the way the ball jumps off your bat.
Why, you don't even feel it hit the bat. You just hear a loud crack, and I hadn't heard that sound in quite some time.
You really, a lot of times, don't remember seeing anything. It's like your subconscious mind just takes over, and the next thing you know, you hear that loud crack of the ball hitting the bat, and then you take off running, and then all of a sudden it starts coming back to you a little bit.
When you go to home plate, you're trying to execute something, and when you do hit a home run or a solid line drive, you've done what you set out to do. I mean, that's your job. You've done it, and you've done it as perfectly as you possibly can.
You have done what you set out to do with great intensity, and then after the ball leaves the bat, you know it's going to be a home run. You just breathe a sigh of relief, look down at the ground, you know, get your feet correct, and look up in the sky and thank God and take the tour.
Nolan, those guys who hit for the high averages, is it tougher to face them than the power hitters?
Well, I think they are, because they put the ball in play. I'd rather be in a crucial situation and face a free swinging hitter like a Reggie Jackson or a Willie Mays, because they're going to try to hit you out of the ballpark. Where you take a contact hitter, say as a Pete Rose, they're going to get the bat on the ball, and there's a chance they're going to put it in play, and that you can't make a play on them. It could make a difference in the ball game.
Pete Rose has made the difference in a lot of ball games.
You can walk into a lot of ballparks, but to walk into a ballpark and be in a big league uniform, that's the beautiful thing about being a baseball player. I frankly think that every player should love playing baseball. I mean, it beats working, believe me.
Rose loves to play baseball. He has fun at it. He's just a great competitor, and it's an outstanding record to get the most hits in the National League. In fact, I was very proud of that record. And I had it for a number of years before Pete broke it. He loves to play, and if you love what you're doing, that's a hard combination to beat.
Pete was motivated by base hits, by money, and all the stats that went along with it. He can quote you all the stats, and he knows how much money he's got in his pocket right now. And but he's got the intensity and drive that, you know, that I had on the field, but he has it
off the field.
I heard Pete Rose tell a young kid that was about to take his, not about to take his job, that wanted to play the same position as Pete Rose did. This was more than 10 years ago, 10, 12 years ago. Pete said, you're not going to take my position. You can't and you won't, so you might as well try another position in the meantime. I'll give it to you when I'm done.
His game from the time he leaves the dugout to the time he goes back into it is intimidation. Whatever it is, diving into bases when he really doesn't have to, just to incite the crowd, incite the opposition.
You can always pick up the ball if you slide head first. I mean, if you slide like this, you're looking up at the sky. How many times have you seen a guy go into second, he's laying on his back like that, and the ball's in center field? But if you slide like this, you don't close your eyes. I mean, your peripheral vision will pick up the ball. And probably the biggest reason, usually you slide head first, you get your picture in the paper.
Pete thrived on really his ego to a certain extent of being in the press and everything else, so it was very easy for us to withdraw and let him have it.
He knew he couldn't hit home runs, so he said, I'm going to be the best singles hitter in the history of the game. And to see him do that, I can appreciate it.
I knew I was going to do it, so it was just a matter of who was going to be off of, what kind of hit it was going to be, and where. And I wanted to be in Cincinnati, but I didn't plan it that way. And I just knew when I walked up to bat, in the first at bat against Schaap, I was going to get a hit.
2-1 pitch from Schaap into left center. There it is. Rose has eclipsed Cobb. That's number 4,192.
And what people realize now, they never seen this part of Pete Rose. People didn't think that I had feelings the way I played the game because you play so hard and you're so rugged and you dive head first and this and that. You know, I didn't have tears for 5 minutes or 6 minutes because, you know, I was too busy thanking people and my teammates and my little boy come out there. Then all of a sudden Nolan's there. And right away you start thinking about the most instrumental people in your career. And the first name to come to my mind was my father. My mother was sitting up behind the stands. And I might add that I wasn't the only guy that cried that night in Cincinnati. From what I'm told, half the people in the stands were crying. I don't know. That was sort of an emotional night, but it was a great night because we won the game 2-0. I scored both runs.
There's no quitting in his vocabulary. He wanted to win, and he wanted to get his hits as worse than anybody, any 5 people I've ever met.
Rose nibbled at you as he nibbled at everybody. Did he have a lot of natural talent to go along with that determination?
Well, I think Pete made the best of the talent that he had, and he had limited talent. He wasn't fast, he wasn't big, he wasn't exceptionally strong, but he learned the game, he knew the game, and he knew what he had to do to be successful in it. And the tough part of pitching to Pete Rose was that you could make your pitch on him, and he would get enough of the ball just to foul it off, and he would keep pestering you until you finally either gave in to him or you made a mistake and he got a pitch that he could hit.
What would Pete Rose have done if they had given him a body like Henry Aaron's?
I tell you what, if Pete Rose would have had power with his ability to spray the ball, then it would have been really tough. And it was tough enough as it was.
Henry Aaron was pretty good, too, at combining getting base hits and getting home runs.
I think I taught myself how to play. It wasn't that many kids around thinking about baseball at the time. And I just did things I imagined, like I would draw a line, 3 or 4 lines, and throw a top up in the air and pretend like I would hit it. And if I hit it over the first line, it would be a single, the second line, double, the third line, triple, and the last line would be a home run.
Henry's 45 home runs, second best in the National League, were a career high. Even the fans have to hustle to salvage this souvenir.
In the South, when they build the houses with a little V shape like this with the 10 top houses, well, you know, it got so that I could really take a rag, I'm talking boil some old rags up and take it and just barely throw it to the tip of that roof, and it would just barely go over, and I could go around there and catch it before it got down the other side.
Richie Ashburn gives Milwaukee an early scare, but Henry Aaron's dazzling defense saves the Braves.
All of these things I created myself as a kid growing up in Mobile, and I enjoyed it.
Always one of my idols because we both come out of Mobile, so Aaron was the guy that I looked up to a lot.
I have great respect for Henry Aaron. I have so much respect for him that I think that the home run crowd should be called the Henry Aaron Award.
Never thought about playing baseball as a living until Jackie Robinson, of course, broke into baseball and gave every black kid in the South and across this country really hope that that if they were good enough that they could play professional baseball. I never thought about it. My mother, in fact, discouraged me from playing baseball. She wanted me to go to college, wanted me to get an education and come back home and be either a school teacher or whatever else was available for blacks at that time. When I first started playing baseball, 9, 10, 13 home runs was as much as I could hit, you know, because I was skinny and scrawny. I wasn't strong enough to hit a home run. I was too poor, you know, really. And as I grew a little bit, and I got a little stronger, I started eating the right type of foods. I started generating a little bit of power.
Henry Aaron's whiplash wrist and whine against a Don Drysdale bullet, and it's bye-bye baseball.
And I think it was about 10 years into my career, that's just 7, 8 years into my career. And then gradually I started feeling a lot of confidence. I started feeling like nobody, no matter who it was out there on the mound, could get me out.
I had asked Don Drysdale, how do you pitch to him? And Don Drysdale said, well, you buzz him up in here, and you throw sliders out here, and you buzz him up in here and throw sliders out here. And I tried to interrupt. He said, wait a minute. Then once you get him looking out there for the slider, you bust him back in here. And I said, but Don, I don't throw a slider. He said, go take your uniform off. You can't face Aaron. He looked relaxed, but you could tell at the plate he was very intense and wanted to do well, and obviously did very well.
And I know no matter what happened to Henry Aaron today, tomorrow, whatever time, I'm going to always be labeled as the man that broke Babe Ruth's record and hit more home runs than anybody in baseball.
Here's the pitch by Downing. Swinging. There's a drive into left center field. That ball is going to be out of here. It's gone. It's 7:15. There's a new home run champion of all time.
A lot of people say, Hank, when you hit the home run, you're going to run backwards. You know, and I couldn't do that. I had to be myself. I did the same thing when I hit 715 as I did when I hit number 1. You know, I made sure that I touched every base. And then when I got to home plate, I made sure I put my foot on the home plate because the umpires were watching me. You know, they were looking. And if I had missed that, can you imagine hitting 715? They said, you got to do it again. And I said, boy, it wouldn't have been no way that I could have done it again. Believe it or not, I never thought of myself as a home run hitter. I always thought of myself as being a complete player. And I'm not taking away the fact that I hit more home runs than anybody else, but I always felt like I could do other things. I played baseball because I loved it. I played baseball because financially it was going to be very rewarding to me. And I played it because it was a lot of fun.
This is the helmet that Henry Aaron was wearing the day he hit that 715th home run. This is one of Henry Aaron's bats. And Ozzie Smith is one of the many ball players to come out of Mobile, Alabama. Was Henry a hero of yours when you were a kid?
Well, not really. I think I was too young at that age to really know about baseball.
Boy, that'll hurt him.
Yeah, but I did move from there when I was 6 years old, and most of my growing up was done in Los Angeles.
So you're a laid-back Californian.
Laid-back Californian.
Do you ever get a little excited when you're on the baseball field?
Oh, I think we all do. I think it's part of your nature as a baseball player to get excited at times.
Do you ever get really angry at umpires?
Definitely. If you play this game long enough, there are going to be occasions where you do get very angry at umpires.
Are they a little bit weird?
Very different.
They certainly are different. They're a very special breed, the umpire.
Baseball was, to me, a sissy's game. I mean, you couldn't hit anybody. The only thing violent you could do was yell at an umpire. That's why you want to be an umpire. Because when you're on the field, you're out there and you look around, you know the crowd's looking at you. Why would they be looking at Mike Smith? I mean, so the guy's the greatest hitter that ever lived. So he hits home runs every game. They're not watching him, they're watching you. Remember, you got the power. All you have to say is, Mike, you're gone, and Mike's got to go. be God all my life. I didn't want to play baseball, football. I wanted to be God. And I really believed it. I mean, I walked out in the field. Dave Winfield comes out, and I said, you can't play today, Dave. I'm throwing you out of the game. Earl Weaver, you can't be here today. You leave. They leave, and they fine them for leaving. And you tell me that's not God? Of course it is. That's the trouble with Earl and myself. We got into so much trouble because I really believed I was God, and he knows he is. See, so now the two of us never got along. That was the big problem there.
I'll tell you, managing is a lot different than playing. Playing is fun. Managing is nerve-wracking. You know, as far as you're saying I was the most excitable, I don't think there's any doubt about that.
But you were always so serious. Again, you said you're 5 runs up, 5-0 going into the 9th inning. You go like this, right?
Well, not when I had McNally, Quay, or
yeah, it depends on who was
on the mound, and you could see it coming. Ball 1, ball 2, ball 3. You could almost see all of that stuff.
But I've had managers, Martin is one, who would come out and really be playing to the crowd more than me.
We were in New York, August 17th, August 19th, something like that, 1983. Gossage was pitching. He threw the first pitch, I fouled it down the left field line, then he threw another pitch, and I hit a home run. And I started circling the bases, and next thing you know, I get to home plate. And just as I'm touching home plate, Billy's already out there with the bat in his hand, talking to the umpire. And then someone in the dugout says, well, they're checking for pine tar. Well, I'm going, there's no way they can call that. I mean, I've been using that bat for a month and a half, and the bat just had tremendous wood in it. And I just got through saying that I said, if they call me out, I'm going to go out there and I'll kill one of those umpires. So when I didn't even get that out of my mouth, and the guy says, then you're out. And then I said, well, I got to go out there and do something.
See, there's philosophies on baseball. One of them is that don't become too complacent out there. In other words, if you're out there and everything's going along too rosy, you're going to lose and nobody's going to care. The other thing is keep things stirred up. Earl Weaver type of thing, Billy Martin type, all the volatile managers. You got to get something going. Something's got to happen bad, or else you won't win.
I believe that you've got to have the desire and the enthusiasm as a manager to be able to step on toes, to be able to hurt feelings. In fact, you know you're going to hurt feelings. Every time you got 25 people on a ball club and only put 9 of them in, 16 of them are going to be hurt.
You know, I realize that all this job is handling people as individuals, which they are, and trying to get them to understand what they can do and what they can't do, and go do the can-dos a lot more than the can't-dos.
Get yourself a guy that understands pitching and a guy that understands how to play the infield. Get yourself a guy that knows how to hit and run and bunt, handle the personalities on your ball club, and you've got a chance to manage. Along with that, get yourself some good players, and you'll win the Manager of the Year.
If you don't succeed each and every year, you're not going to be asked back the next year. Managing is more like work. Playing is playing. That's the difference.
Earl Weaver had a terrific record for getting kicked out of games and for winning games. Ozzie, do you think you could ever be a manager?
Well, Dick, I have no aspirations to be a manager right now, but who knows what lies down the road.
What would you say are the 2 most important qualities in a manager?
I think patience and motivation.
The ability to motivate.
That's right.
It takes very special qualities to be a manager, and it takes special qualities to be a great ball player.
Obviously, we have to be born with the ability to do those things. We have to be born with natural ability, you know, to be able to have good hand-eye coordination and soft hands, and to be able to see a little bit better than the next guy.
And I look back on it, even in high school, I was maybe 5'11", almost 6 foot in high school, but I felt like I was, in basketball, for instance, a very good rebounder because I had that little sense of timing just to be where the ball was and to get the ball when it came off the rim. Don't jump too soon, don't jump too late. And the same thing holds true in baseball.
But you have to feel very confident and sure of yourself, and otherwise, if the least bit of doubt slips in, and or you quit working hard, or you take something for granted, that's when something happened to you.
I knew that I was a good ball player. I knew it was, for me to get between the white lines and play baseball, I had the supreme confidence in what I was doing.
You thought you were successful, you knew you were successful, and of course that worked on your confidence. That helps a lot when you do have success.
I have had success, and I think people expect an awful lot of me, which they should. I expect an awful lot of myself. And when I don't perform to the level I think I should, I hear it not only from my family, but I hear it from 40,000 people every night.
And they say your own worst enemy is yourself, because I'm very hard on myself. Regardless if I'm going good, I feel like I can do better. If I'm going bad, I want to get out of it.
When I got 1 base hit, I want 2. When I got 3, I want 4. Because I'm greedy in that respect. I don't ever want to settle for 1 or 2 and call it a day.
The pride factor, what you can do, what you can accomplish, what abilities you have, and what heights you can reach. And I think that's really what motivates a lot of guys.
I think that's the thing that separates me from a lot of other athletes, is I just have a lot more pride than the next guy. Pride to do well, not only as a player, but as a manager, as a practicer. I practice it right, because I thought if I practice it right, I got a good chance of playing right.
As far as the effort goes, it's the little things, talking about hitting, talking about who's pitching that night, and going out and taking your extra batting practice and just sort of refining your skills.
I don't think that I was ever really self-satisfied and was willing to rest on what I've accomplished. And I think that's probably the case with every individual who's had an outstanding career. I think you could say the same thing about an Aaron or a McCovey or a Mays or a Johnny Bench or whatever. I don't think anybody, even with early success, those players that are good over a long period of time are ever really self-satisfied with that 1 year or that 1 short period.
But it's a natural, God-given thing, and I think the ones that understand that and the ones that practice it the hardest and think about it the most are the ones that are the most successful, and I like to think I'm one of those ones.
Every year we have this game at Dodger Stadium. It's called Hollywood Stars Night. They've done it for 30 years now, and I play every year. The game starts at 6, I'm there at 2. I wear my 2 pairs of socks. I bring my own ankle socks. They just don't know what to do there. I have my own belt, my cup, everything. It's my day to be a pro. It's my day to chew and spit and grab myself. I mean, it's okay. I walk out there, I'm Louis Aparicio. He was my favorite shortstop. I walk like Louis. I do everything like Louis. I speak pidgin Spanish. I do all of those things. I get out to shortstop and I think about the Yankees in a '63 World Series there and look out and how far Mickey hit that ball off Koufax. I mean, so when I'm out there, there's no you look marvelous, there's no lights and stuff. I'm a ball player. That 1 day of the year, it's my Christmas. It's my favorite day of the year.
Billy Crystal really does love baseball. And if you think Billy Crystal is funny, you ought to hear Bob Gibson. Even better, if you really want to laugh, you ought to face Bob Gibson in a fantasy camp game.
When I go to the fantasy camps, I flat out try to intimidate them. And these guys are fantasizing being Major League ball players and facing me and a lot of other pitchers that are ex-Major League pitchers. And so I really try to leave the impression that I can still pitch the way I did 10 years ago. And they're not quite sure that I can't. And when they step up there, most of them are afraid, and that's what I try to do, make them just put a little bit of fear in them.
I think I came down because, like everyone else here, we have one common thread running through the group, and that's the total love of baseball.
You know, you see them come out here the first day, they're just almost like the professionals type spring training. As the days go along, they make progress and they improve. And the last day, they're much better than they were the first day, and they really put an effort into it.
Come on! It really is everything they thought it would be, and a lot more, too. Remember the man we want up there now. Look at swing at that. In listening to the Hall of Famers out here, you really know that you can get out here and really learn a lot from the game from these guys.
Well, we try to tell them how the game's supposed to be played, because some of those guys, they go and coach Little League, and they listen, they come to me and ask me questions about pitching, questions about holding the ball. And, you know, that really helped because when I grew up, you know, when I was growing up, we don't have too many people that know the game that well and teach the kid how to play the game.
Do these people all want to learn how to throw the knuckler?
Yeah, I think everybody here is throwing knucklers now, including infielders and outfielders.
Come on! Yeah! Come on, run!
It's a lot of fun to hit ground balls and field them and hit and all of that. But the real treat of the camp is getting to develop a friendship with, say, Harmon Killebrew or Warren Spahn or Juan Marichal. That's the real treat and benefit of coming down here.
And the way the campers, we call them campers, respond to us, it makes us feel good. You know, we're the guys of the past, and but the way they've taken to us, and they're nice to us, and I think that's what makes the camp what it is.
God almighty, that was the worst looking play I've ever seen.
Well, here I'm tagging some balls. For the first time in my life, I'm tagging balls I never tagged when I was 22. And that's a thrill.
Most of these guys will be great base stealers when they leave here?
Yeah, in their minds.
Come on!
It's a great group of guys, and it's a class bunch of individuals. And it's a pleasure to sit over and have a couple of drinks at nighttime and sit down and talk to these fellows. They're very sharp, and you can see a little improvement in the camp when about the 4th or 5th day, that they're bunting better, they're running better, they're throwing the ball better, and you see a lot of guys in the training room getting rubbed down.
We have a good time, Dick. It's amazing the camaraderie that we do have. I think baseball players in particular are proud of their profession. You play it every day and you play it for 18 years like I did. Well, it's fun to mix and talk about it.
Yes! No.
If you had a fantasy camp that you could go to, what kind of a fantasy camp would you go to?
I would want to bat right-handed. I would want no injuries involved. I want someone to be out on the mound like a pitching machine. So they throw it in there. I can dig in and rip as hard as I could. And there would be no outfielders and bat every 3 innings.
These guys that play in these fantasy camps really have a great time. I've never seen a group of guys that enjoyed baseball and loved baseball as much as the fellows that participate in the fantasy camp.
I realized early on that I didn't quite have the tools to be a professional ball player, so I kept it in my dreams, and it's come alive this week.
Major League Baseball players have their own fantasies. George Brett would like to play quarterback in the National Football League. Mike Schmidt would like to be a pop singer. What would Ozzie Smith like to be?
I'd love to be a musician.
What kind of music?
Jazz.
Improvise?
Yes, anytime.
Don't you have to do that on the field too? I mean, you've got rhythm on the field, you've got improvising. Is it is it you against everyone else when you're out there?
It definitely is. It's me doing my thing to try and do whatever it takes to help my ball club win. As you mentioned from the top, it's one of those. It's a team-oriented sport, but it's done by individuals, and everybody try and do their individual things.
And it's one-on-one. It's Ozzie against the batter, Ozzie against the pitcher.
There you go.
And sometimes Ozzie against the umpire, but it's one-on-one.
I guess the thing that I like about baseball, what it gave me a chance and an opportunity to be one-on-one with that competition. Nobody stood there but just me, the pitcher, and the catcher. And it made me feel good to try to stand there and outguess the pitcher.
The confrontation of me against the hitter is pretty much the way I live my life, I think. I enjoyed the challenge of trying to get that guy out and trying to outsmart him, seeing if he could think a little bit better than me, and usually I won, and it really made me feel great.
Baseball is supposedly a team sport, but it's made up of 9 individuals, and Nobody's going to throw a pick for you or throw a block for you or give you a pass to make a basket or anything. It's one-on-one. Once you get into the box, it's you against the pitcher.
When you walk up the plate, step into that batter's box, you have to work up a hate for the pitcher, and you've got to have that worked up by the time you step in. And I mean, you've got to have the animal instincts, and you've got to have some hatred involved when you look out there and see them.
Their job is to try to get me out, and my job is to try to hit line drives off the forehead.
They're somewhat inanimate objects holding a bat or trying to beat my brains out.
When I was on the field, I was out there to try and do the best I could, and that was war.
Pitchers are the enemy.
They were always the enemy.
I try not to get along with any of them.
I just would stay away from them.
I didn't fraternize with them.
They're not really people.
They're the dumbest athletes on the field.
They don't feel sorry for anybody.
Never was frightened against any pitcher.
I was never afraid of the hitter.
Either you hit me or I hit you.
When I wanted to hit them, I could do that. When I faced a guy like Willie Mays or Willie McCovey or Hank Aaron, the guys who were the best ball players available, and to get them out gave me an extreme good feeling. And I think I would rather have gotten a guy like that out than some little punch and Judy that kicks the ball over the infield. You know, you just don't have the challenge there.
Whenever there's a challenge, you got up for it. And I enjoyed the challenge of facing the better pitchers. The better pitchers always had good control. They was always around the plate. They pitched fast. All of that I liked. I like to face Seaver. I like to face those guys. I wasn't the most successful hitter against them, but at the same time, it was the challenge that goes up there one-on-one a lot of times. And it was a great confrontation for me.
Players in general, when they face a top-notch pitcher, it seems as though the adrenaline gets pumping a little bit more. And if you do well off of them, then you kind of say to yourself, the confidence starts flowing, and you say, well, I can hit anybody else, because they're the best in the business.
Baseball is a one-on-one situation, you know, and it gives you an opportunity to go out there and do the best you can against the best.
Nolan, you're not like Pete Rose. You don't growl. You're not like Drysdale or Gibson glaring at the batters. But inside, obviously, you're a competitor. What goes on inside?
Well, when I go out to pitch, I feel like I'm a completely different personality than I am the rest of the day or my life. And I find that I become very aggressive, and I found the only way for me to be successful is to be aggressive. And as Duke said, you have to have some hate in you. And that's my approach towards hitters during the game. And I think I have somewhat the same attitude as Gibson does when he pitched, but I probably don't show it, see like he did.
You probably show it a little more, Roger, because you're a big guy and you can intimidate. Do you try to stare down those batters?
Not really stare people down. When you go out, you know, basically you let your pitches do the talking for you. And being a power pitcher, that can set the stage right away. And again, you have to set the stage from the get-go. And I'd say in the 80s and the last few years, pitching inside's been kind of going to the wayside a little bit. And when you come inside as a pitcher now, the hitters really take it as a big threat. But again, I stay away from the head area when I come inside. When I come in, it's for a purpose. And you know, they can't cover both sides of the plate. And basically, you definitely got to have that little hatred. And you are a different pitcher that day, no matter what's going on in the world or around you or family-wise. When you go out there to pitch on that 5th day, you have to be ready.
A little bit of an animal?
You're a little bit angry at certain things.
Roger Clemens is part of baseball's future. Nolan Ryan, part of baseball's past. And one of the most appealing things about baseball is that the past, the future, and the present all blend so beautifully. That's what makes it a dream game, a grand slam of a game.
Ain't nothing like a grand slam to make you feel like a real
love baseball. It's my life, my love, and I just wish that everybody can have an opportunity to play it. It's just a great life.
I just feel so great, I just don't know what to do.
It gets in your blood. The game of baseball becomes infectious, and the more you play it, the more you love it. Every spring I get antsy, even at the age of 60, which I am now. February and March come around, I get antsy. I want to go down and start playing again.
Oh, the baseball, that was like playtime to me. I loved it. I would have played for nothing, you know. I mean, I just loved to play baseball.
I just never wanted to work for a living, and it turned out pretty well that way.
You got to be young and enjoy the game, have fun, and that's what it's all about.
I'd like to stay with you, but
There you go.
Louis, I can see my favorite brunette. Who's that?
Oh, Dorothy Lamar.
Yeah. Got a big day. She promised to play ball with me.
Don't you want somebody to coach on the third base line?
Well, you know the signals.
As Reggie would say, this has been a great tour. Thanks for coming along. Just one more thing, Ozzie. Teach me how to play this game.
Dick, just dream. Just dream.
Our pathway
And now we're